The concept of independence for the individual with autism is primary to the TEACH philosophy and also foundational to Centering on Children's mission. Committed to hiring adults with autism, Centering on Children's Vocational Workshop is designed to promote optimum independence within the manufacturing, assembling, and packaging phases of the business. The concept of independence begins very early in life for an individual with autism. The North Carolina TEACH program uses independent work areas as a means to teach and further independence, and ShoeboxTasks lend themselves to this beginning process. The North Carolina TEACH program, from its beginnings in the early 1970s, has emphasized as part of its learning approach the importance of independence. And an integral part of that is the independent work area that is found in many classrooms throughout North Carolina and many homes as well. And on a very basic level, perhaps the most basic level, the ShoeboxTasks help to facilitate this process. And I'm going to demonstrate as if I were the student, and we lay out the activities. And in the very beginning, with a child that's new to this whole process, you may not want to lay out 3, it may just be 1. But what we're establishing here is that when I come to my desk, I see the work that I'm about to do, and I also see something that's of high interest. And in this case, I have red buttons and water. So that's frequently a high interest item. And then when I'm done with my work, I have a finish basket where I can place the item that's finished. It's done with. Don't have to deal with it anymore. So I would take this item, bring it forth, and I complete it by putting the blocks in. Now, if that number of blocks is too much, I would reduce it. Again, the important thing is that we don't want to give that student too much. It's beyond his abilities at any given point. We want to give them the right amount. And again, with this system, it's not critical that the activity be challenging. What's important is that they understand that when they're at this table, they're not going to get a lot of input from a teacher. That this is their work, and there's minimum to no input whatsoever from an adult to help them. They're to do this all on their own. So when I'm finished, it goes in finish box. You get the next activity, and I put this together. This goes in finished. I see one more activity here. So I pull this over. But I really want the red buttons, but can't quite have it yet. I have to finish this activity first. So I put these in. Okay, I've finished my last work item. Now I can get the red buttons and water, and I can enjoy what I've really been working for all along. Now, while this process is happening, it doesn't happen by magic. With the child sitting here, there's often a teacher in the background, in the very beginning, when this system is being learned, giving the minimal amount of help so that, again, this young child doesn't begin to depend on certain cues, verbal or gestural or by touch. So the teacher's purpose is to give a minimal amount of instruction till the child gets this whole system down and be backing away and phasing her or himself out of the picture completely, so that a child could come, would be able to see their work, see what's next, do their work, put it in the finish basket, get their item without any help whatsoever, and the teacher could be off working one-on-one with another student in another part of the room. In keeping with its mission, Centering on Children is fortunate to employ several individuals with autism. The environment is structured with the strengths and interests of our employees in mind. Employees work closely with his or her job coach who, while encouraging independence, expands the nature of their job description. This often involves translating abstract concepts into concrete instructions with the use of visual aids. All our employees use a work system in order to package the materials. And what this is, it's a visual means to see what work they have and how much work they have. It unfolds, the events unfold from top to bottom. So in this case, they would be packaging activity 8, then 7, then 5, and then they'd go have a snack after that work. So I'll take you through shoebox task number 8, and we'll see how that plays out. So if I were the employee, I would take the number 8, take my whole work system with me. Now on this particular table, we have all the materials we need to package the manipulatives for number 8. And match the 8. Then I have colors, and the colors match the items that are needed. So here I've matched the blue to the blue, and on our table we have a map of different colors and places where the boxes can go of the items that we'll be packaging. So the blue is matched to the blue, and then I match the brown from my work system to the brown on the supplies that I need. Bring it over, and there's a brown color on the table that I match. Then I have yellow. And the yellow matches to what's the finished basket, and within the finished basket is the jig that is used for the actual count of the materials. So I'll bring that over. Assuming I'm the person doing the work, I place my jig, there's the name on here, right in front of me, and then it's a match. It's a one-to-one correspondence. So it's a good way to just maintain your count of how many you need. And then the pegs. We have a place to put each peg. If you'll notice, things are coming from a left to right. It's a routine that's built into the system. And then the bags are here. And we can determine how many of something we package by the number of numbers that we have available. Each of our employees has a job coach with them, and they would, depending on the day, how the person is feeling, how productive they usually are, would determine how many of these will be packaged. But in this case, we'll do just one. Now, the open end of our visual instruction is on the top. And then I have a visual where the number goes. So the number is going to be placed right over our visual. And then I can take the bag, put all our items in it. And then I come over and we have our tape machine. And each employee has been taught to grab the bag, hold it, twist, twist. So it's a routine way of doing something. Again, takes the decision making out of it. So they just have a certain number of twists, and then they know to go right down. It's a nicely packaged bag. Goes in the finish box. I'm done with my work. All the materials need to go back on the shelf, and I can come over, match blue to blue, brown to brown. The box with the yellow. The jig goes in the box. We put the yellow back on the shelf, so everything's back in place for the next person to use it. I've packaged my items, and I've done a really good job at work today. This is activity 31. It's called stretch, and it gets a lot of these pot holder loops in a bag so that when everything's packed, it looks like so. So there are 10 of each of 6 colors. I want to point out that our jigs are not going to look the same for our different employees. And in this case, we have this, which looks like it might be an art piece. But really what it is they're coated with the actual material for each color, and there are 10 little cups. So that for several of our people, they put one blue loop in each of these containers, making a total of 10. And when they have each of these containers filled up with these colors, they then take their bag and they can put each of these in there, thus ending up with what's in this bag. It may seem labor-intensive, but this is what works. Now we have another person who does it in a slightly different way. He can retain information much better, and he can read, and he understands numbers. So we have 10 yellow loops and 10 blue loops, and on down. He starts at the top, he takes these bins, and he can pull out the 10 yellow loops, puts them in the circle. Once he's counted out 10, he puts them in the bag, and then comes down to the 10 blue, puts them in the circle, puts them in the bag, and so forth on down until he has all the loops in the bag. So again, you can see 2 very different ways of doing it, and yet they both meet the ability level of each of those individuals and allows them to be independent and also successful in packaging Shoebox Task 31, the activities. A number of our Shoebox Task lids require Velcro as part of their design. For those of us who are not intimidated by the abstract, we can easily take Velcro, use our plate like so, and place the Velcro somewhere between this imprint and the edge of the lid, and have lid number 12 with the Velcro where it's supposed to be. However, we have employees with autism where that very same job becomes a big challenge because of the abstract nature of it. Because of that, we've created what's called the press. We use the same plate, however this time we use the structure of the press, put it on, and then the activity becomes a matching activity. We match the Velcro onto the plate, and we place the lid and match the openings to the opening, and then it's a matter of closing the lid, pressing gently, and there we have the very same lid with the Velcro in the right places, and we've taken a job that normally would be out of the realm of individuals with autism, and we've created it as part of their job description, and we've expanded that which they're doing in our shop. In our workshop, we provide numerous visual instructions for employees with autism to be successful with the jobs that they have before them. In this case, this is the visual instruction for putting the containers together that go with our basic curriculum set. And in and of itself, it looks rather busy. However, once we take an individual through this a number of times, it enables them to develop the routine for putting these containers together, and a routine over time becomes a strategy. Let me take you through this once. So we'd ask and we'd show in the beginning, person or employee to match, simple match. First the literature, the lids, T8 cups, all the supplies are within reach. So it becomes a simple match. However, we're showing the procedure in a very definite way. So we want to do it the same way every time, because that's what will become the routine. So once everything is matched in its place, we go back and we have arrows pointing to how the containers are stacked. Once everything is stacked from top to bottom, then we work left to right. The literature goes in the container, the lids on top. This goes in here. It's reversed. Stack, stack. Once we have all our containers stacked, they need to be taped. We do this by taking our tape. We have a measurement, a visual measurement for our tape. We start at the one red dot, roll it out to the other. It's the length of our tape. With our pen, we have an outline that we can follow to denote the middle of the tape. So take our tape, match the middle with the opening, bring it down, and there we have all our containers that goes with our basic set to our customers. So you can see that a visual instruction of this complexity, when demonstrated to an individual with autism consistently the same way every time, becomes a routine, which then becomes a strategy enabling them to be successful. Red buttons in water has proven itself to be a high-interest activity with many young children with autism. The action of the button floating through the water grabs their interest and often opens the door for them to be doing something for the first time. They'll want to see that same action happen by doing it themselves. Now, when you have a high-interest activity such as this, you can use it to their advantage as well as your own by creating a first-then situation. You take an activity that's of less interest, one that perhaps they've resisted doing in the past, you place it before them. You place the high-interest activity, in this case the red buttons in water, you place it within their sight but out of reach. And you establish a connection to this student. First work, then you get to play with red buttons in water. And you may not start out with 5 blocks, you may just start out with 1 block. The important point is that they get to do one activity. They first must do one activity successfully before they get the red buttons in water back, which they enjoy doing. So it's a question of first work and then play. And it can open the door to the learning process whereby over time you extend the amount of work that they do in order to get what they really want. Much of the visual structure currently in place in our environment has been the result of trial and error. Ongoing modifications to jigs, physical layout, and the materials within the environment itself are a necessary part of that process for expanding the nature of the work in relation to the individual employees. This is the exciting part of a vocational workshop. By paying attention to the strengths and interests of the worker, one also enhances the vitality and strength of that business. A win-win situation for all. One of our employees said recently that what made him feel good about his job was that the activities he packed were going all over the world to help young kids with autism. He liked being part of that process.